Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Hare Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Giri Varadari Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Giri Varadari Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Adamadava Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva. Jaya Gora Nitai, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Panchatattva ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 13, text 13. It's a very lucky text from some perspective. Okay, let's see. Geyam yattat pravakshami Yajgyatvam ashnute Anadimat param brahma Nasatan nasad uchate Gyayam yattat pravakshami Yajgyatvam ashnute Anadimat param brahma Nasatan nasad uchate Gyayam tattva vishami Yajgyatvam ashnute Anadimat param brahma Nasatan utushyate Yam yatat pravakshami Yajgyatvam ashnute Anadimat param brahma Nasatan nasaduchate. Okay, Matajis. Yam yatat pravakshami Yajgyatvam ashnute Nadimat paramama Nasatan nasaduchate. Gyayam, the knowable, Yat, which, Tat, that, Pravakshami, I shall now explain. Yat, which, Gyatva, knowing, Amritam, nectar, Ashnute, one tastes, Anadi, beginningless, Matparam, subordinate to me, Brahma, spirit, Na, neither, Sat, cause, Tat, that, Na, nor, Asat, effect, Uchate is said to be. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal Brahman, the eternal. Brahman, the spirit, beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Purport: the Lord has explained the field of activities and the knower of the field. He has also explained the process of knowing the knower of the field of activities. Now he begins to explain the knowable, first the soul and then the super soul. By knowledge of the knower, both the soul and the super soul, one can relish the nectar of life. As explained in the second chapter, the living entity is eternal. This is also confirmed here. There is no specific date at which the Jiva was born, nor can anyone trace out the history of the Jivatma manifestation from the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is beginningless. The Vedic literature confirms this. Najayatem riyate vavipaschit. Katha Upanishad 1-18. The knower of the body is never born and never dies, and he is full of knowledge. The Supreme Lord, as the Super Soul, is also stated in the Vedic literature. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6:16 to be Pradana Kshetragya Patir Guneshaha, the chief knower of the body and the master of the three modes of material nature. In the Smriti it is said, Dasa Bhuto Harer, Eva Nanya Syaiva Kadachana. The living entities are eternally in the service of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed by Lord Chaitanya in his teachings. Therefore, the description of Brahman mentioned in this verse is in relation to the individual soul, and when the word Brahman is applied to the living entity, it is to be understood that is Vijnana Brahman as opposed to Ananda Brahman. Ananda Brahman is the Supreme Brahman personality of Godhead. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Sarasvata Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhashyate Adeshtatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. It's quite a complicated chapter, at least for me, for many people. Probably it's the most complicated chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And this is, but Srila Prabhupada in his purport makes it very simple for us. This section of the 13th chapter describing Gaya, what is to be known. And Srila Prabhupada makes it really simple. As he says, what is to be known is actually Atma, the individual soul, and Paramatma, the super soul. That's all we need to know. And he quotes this this verse from Katha Upanishad, and which says, Najayate mriyate va vipaschit. And this is very similar to verse 20 from 2nd chapter. There's just a few words different. And there in the purport, this verse from Katha Upanishad is quoted again. And Srila Prabhupada explains that this special word vipaschit, it means learned or with knowledge. So the idea behind is that this chapter is about knowledge. So if we know the soul, the individual soul is full of knowledge. So we don't, if we want to study something, we can go to the University of Ljubljana, and we have to find the two universities. First, the university which is studying the soul, and the other university which is studying the super soul. We don't need to study the physics, mathematics, informatics, computer science nowadays. All we need to know is to study the soul and the super soul, which is easier said than done. Srila Prabhupada was discussing with one Indian, and Srila Prabhupada was saying something, and this Indian gentleman was saying, I know, Prabhupada, I know. And Srila Prabhupada was saying something more, and this gentleman will continue, yes, I know, Prabhupada, I know. And after a few times, this lila continued, and Srila Prabhupada turned to him and said, what you know? You don't know anything. You have no idea what you're talking about. Just, I know. You don't know anything. So it's a bit similar with this knowledge, that understanding, we're spirit soul. This is something we hear in first day of Krishna consciousness, maybe second. You come to Krishna consciousness and they tell you, oh, you're spirit soul. Like, oh, okay. And it theoretically, we understand it. Okay, it's good. You know, but until you really realize this and you put it in practice, it takes a few years, let's call it like this. Because there's there's quite a few consequences of really understanding that we're a spiritual soul. Krishna gives just a few in Bhagavad Gita. When he starts this description of the soul, he finishes this, the Hinosminyata verse, he finishes with Dhiras tatra namuhyati. So he says, if you really understand this, that the soul is, today he has one type of body, tomorrow this another type of body, you're not bewildered. You're not so much concerned. Oh, old body, young body, I don't care. And so you don't care so much about what happens. So you're not in so much stress. Oh, what will happen to this body? What? There's a COVID pandemic. What will happen to this body? There's a war in Ukraine. What will happen to this body? Okay. Sure, this is just one part of the story, because this body belongs to Krishna, so you're a bit concerned. But if you know that you're a spirit soul, anyway. And in the next verse, Krishna gives also an indication that if you understand that you're spirit soul and you're not the body, that means you're very tolerant. Very tolerant, because you're not the body. And you don't mind so much what happens to the body. And he says, oh, sometimes it's very hot in summer, like now. We proposed to Lalit Govinda Prabhu that for a Sankirtan devotees that he will have an ice cream machine at the train station and one in the center, so you can cool down. It's half joke, but it's really hot. So you're not really concerned, or if it's too cold in winter. It's too cold. What to do? You know, because this come, as this text says, they arise from sense perception. It's something related to the senses. You don't care so much what happens to the senses. And all this so-called material happiness and distress. Today you're in a good mood. Tomorrow in a bad mood. Today you're... and this also, you don't take so serious. So, this is one of the many practical tests that if you understand that we are the soul and not the body. So for example, we'll put a very simple practical test for the devotees. We'll see, okay, how transcendental they are. And we'll announce that Saturday we'll have Harinam in... Where we have Harinam? We have Harinam in Portorož. And we'll see, we'll put announcement, and let's say maybe 30 devotees will want to come to Harinam in Portorož. And then we'll say, oh, sorry, we made the wrong announcement. Actually, the Harinam is in Târboviște. Devotees will be very detached. They will say, Târboviște, Portorož, same thing, no? Detached, because we're spirit soul. Yeah, that's, it doesn't matter, no? From a philosophical perspective. So that's a bit about understanding, really understanding in practice that we're spiritual soul. That, from material perspective, if you go to Târboviște, everyone has been to Târboviște. It's bleak. I don't know. It's. I'm sorry, but after we went, I met one one boy from Trbovlje in Maribor, and I was like, I asked him where he's from. He said, "I'm from Trbovlje." Like, it's a bit better here. I said, and then he said, yes. No, it's I don't know. It's not the most inspiring atmosphere but for someone who's transcendental, well, okay, Portoroș, Trbovlje, same. He doesn't care so much. And other conclusion, which is really interesting, is that if we understand that we're spirit soul, we don't search for happiness in the material world. We don't have the illusion that something in the material world will make us happy. Yeah, we think we don't. Of course, we do many things related to so-called material things, but we don't have the mindset that, oh, I will do this in the material world and I will be happy. Yeah. And Krishna says this, there's this very nice verse in Bhagavad Gita, Yehi swam parshaya boga blukayonaya evate adyanta vanta kaunteyana te shuramate Buddha, which says that someone, a Buddha, very intelligent person, he doesn't take delight in so-called pleasures of the senses. And Krishna explains that he used it dukkha yonaya. He says that exactly this so-called pleasure of the senses are the source of the distress, of the unhappiness. Prahlad Maharaj also says that the more you try to be happy in the material world, the more unhappy you are. Yeah, that's what Srila Prabhupada, in that purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by material miseries. More you want to enjoy, more problems you have. And I've seen sometimes devotees, there's some really funny cases of devotees trying to enjoy in the material world. Devotees or new devotees, let's say like this. And sometimes Krishna is really merciful to new devotees, to aspiring devotees, and whenever they try to enjoy in the material world, he just crushes their dreams, but very fast, you know, like just to show them that, look, there is no enjoyment in the material world, get it? So I've seen quite a few cases of this. We had some friends in Romania, they were devotees, and then they were like thinking to go with the cars off-road in the mountains somewhere. And then they were calling me and to explain what happened. So, long story short, they had in theory a good car for this type of expedition, but the car broke and they were in the middle of nowhere and the car was not working, and there was one of the devotees was on the car on top, and there was a shepherd dog there, and he was very, shepherd dogs apparently they are not so friendly. And they were like, he was like, oh. And this devotee was like, oh my God. they were screaming, and it was really intense. And this way Krishna is, if you're really lucky, Krishna will show you, look, there is no happiness in the material world. And I've seen these devotees in many cases, they tried again, different types, and again. Just big problems, and then I've seen other cases like devotees, some devotees want to go to the sea and bathe in the sea. You know, like you're like, oh, it's gonna be some fun. And then you see these devotees after half an hour, 1 hour, and then you're like, they're full of things on their belly, on this. Like, what happened? You were going there to enjoy, and they're like, oh, but we were jumping, and there were some rocks in the water, and anyway, crazy things. Yeah, so that's the idea. The more you try to enjoy in the material world, the more problems you have, and it's really practical. It's not theoretical, you know. It's like you can see in so many cases, and you can see. You go to Portorož, and Portorož is like a sort of Miami. Like we were talking with Mahot Sahab Prabhu, that he was really having. They were going to Miami to distribute books, and it was like the most difficult place because everyone was like in this idea that, oh, Miami, we're enjoying, you know, and you come to us with these books that tell us that there is no enjoyment in this material world. No, we're not interested. We don't need that, you know. So people are in theory in this mood. But actually, when you see people in Portorož, you see that they're not happy. They are quite grumpy, because probably all of them, or not all of them, but probably many of them, they worked really hard, like 10 hours per day, every day, to save some money for the vacation, you know. They have 1 month vacation per year, and then they go to Portorož, and then whole year they were suffering to get to Portorož to have some fun, finally have some fun. And you go there and you're like expecting, yes, it's gonna be fun. And there's no fun. There's no happiness. And you try, where's the happiness? You know, I worked the whole year, you know, you can imagine these people, they work the whole year to have some happiness in Portorož, and there's no happiness. Where's the happiness? And you can see they are like, anyway. So eventually they take the book because they need it the most, probably. There's this Vedic system, which is quite intelligent. It's very intelligent, actually. This system of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and it's very intelligent. I mean, I could experience some part of it. That sometimes you have these people who are thinking, oh, if I satisfy my desires, then I will be happy. No? They think like this. Young people are like, oh, I will do this. I have this house, car, this. Oh yeah, I'll go this. I'll do this. I finish university. I will be happy. And then you have. And then the Vedic system says, okay, you want to enjoy your material life. Yes, okay, good. Do some dharma. You enjoy according to the rules. Yes, okay, of course, fair enough. Then you get some Lakshmi. And then you can enjoy. Of course, this kama is not, you can enjoy according to some rules. And then you can enjoy. And then after you enjoy, you see like, oh, it was okay, but it's not so much fun. It's not as much fun as I expected, you know, like, there's no real enjoyment. And then you see, like these people in Portorož, maybe after 10 years of doing that, they will see, maybe it's not worth working 10 hours per day for 1 year. Maybe next year we can save a bit less and go to, I don't know, somewhere else. It's the same. So that's the idea with Vedic system. They're like, you satisfy your desires, and you see, you're not happy. You have this, yes. You have this, yes. I was also in this point, like I had, okay, you have good job, yes. You have your own apartment, yes. Okay, you have this, yes. You have this, yes. You tried this, yes. Okay. Are you happy? No. Okay. So that's a conviction which is good to have, and that's what Krishna is explaining. That an intelligent person doesn't think there is any happiness in the material world. He's not looking for the happiness in the material world. So this is just one part. This is first part, because here there is some philosophers who understand. This part is a bit easier to understand than the second part. So there's some philosophers who realize, there's no happiness in the material world. So then there's this French philosopher Albert Camus, and he understood, there's no happiness in the material world. So your only choice is how you want to suffer, which is true. I mean, his realization until this point was true. And his idea was then, the main question is, should I commit suicide or not? Apparently he decided that yes. But anyway, so that's just one part of the philosophy. And if you just understand this, then it's a dangerous place. But we should understand a bit more. Like, also this explains, sometimes you meet people and they say, I tried meditation, it doesn't work. And then you say, what type of meditation? They say usually, I'm just looking at my thoughts. I look at, like in Zen, they look at the white wall and they just let the thoughts pass and so on. Or they do some yoga. And what these parts have in common is that they have this negative understanding, but they don't have anything positive. A negative understanding, I have to ignore the thoughts, this material world, this Maya, it's unhappiness, and but they don't have the positive part. Yes, this is how they say this neti. This is unhappiness, this is unhappiness, this is unhappiness. But where is happiness? They just have the negative part, and then of course you get frustrated after. That's why the process of Ashtanga yoga is so difficult, because after some time you just sit there and meditate and you don't get any taste, and you reject all the lower pleasures you had before in life, and you're like, no taste, no taste, no taste. And after some time you're like, okay, we gotta enjoy somehow. And then you get back to your old material lower habits, because there's no enjoyment. So that's why the second part is very important, because we have to understand also that there is no happiness in the material world, but there is happiness. There is happiness by acting as a servant of Krishna. Krishna, the living entity. And this is our position, the living entities are eternally in the service of the Supreme Lord. So it says, Srila Prabhupada says in this purport, eternally. Eternally, this is quite a big word. Sometimes His Holiness Prahladananda Maharaj gave a class, and the title was, Thank you Krishna, see you next Janmashtami. It's a typical thing that happens with devotees. Sometimes there's a nice festival and the devotees are really enthusiastic, and then the festival finishes and then nobody's there anymore. And the devotees who are very enthusiastic, I mean, usually they don't say it directly, they are like, thank you, it was nice, see you next Janmashtami. this was nice, the Janmashtami celebration. See you next year. And in between, back to our back to our business. You know, and Srila Prabhupada says in this purport that the living entities are eternally in the service of the Supreme Lord. So this means before Janmashtami, this means during Janmashtami, and this means after Janmashtami. Yeah, or before Padayatra, during Padayatra, and after Padayatra. So this is the secret in spiritual life, is that you don't take vacation. There is no vacation in spiritual life. I mean, you can recover. Like after Padayatra, everyone was thinking of the pastime of Muchukunda. Like Muchukunda was fighting for thousands of years on behalf of the demigod, so he needed a few hundred years to sleep. So also the devotees are a bit lacking a bit of sleep during Padayatra, so they can take 2 or 3 days to sleep, which is natural. This is okay, you know. But the idea is to keep in the service after. You know, okay, I need to rest, and then I'm back on track, you know. So as I said before, I give this example with butter. You put butter on the fire, and you want to have ghee. So if you want to have ghee, you don't take the butter off the fire. Yeah, you leave it there. Okay, now it's a bit hot. Now it's a bit less hot, but you keep the butter there. No problem. So this is important for spiritual life, because this stage is called Nishta. Nishta means that you're stable. I was talking to one friend today, and he was, he's beginner devotee. I mean, he's from, and he was thinking, oh, I will distribute that many books. And I told him, you know, rather than distribute 100 books one day, this is really impressive. Yes, okay, sometimes you have one devotee who is distributing 100 books one day. You're like, wow, Jai. But more impressive than this is devotees who distribute 10 books every day for 10 years. Then you're like, wow, this is really impressive. Being stable in the service. That I think you also call in Slovenian you call it kometa. Kometa? This is Komet. Okay. Yeah, we don't need Komet devotees. I mean, they are nice, but it's not about having Komet devotees. That 100 books, yeah, Jai, finished. Where is he now? Yeah, the most important thing which we need to develop is to be stable in Krishna service. To not to take vacations. I mean, I'm not speaking about recovery. You need some recovery, but not take vacation from Krishna. Okay, now it's sometimes it's a bit subtle, but devotees have this idea that now I get purified too much. This was too much purification, so we need a bit of Maya. Yeah, I mean, it's not so. We need to. It's very important to get to this stage of Nishta. And Nishta, what's stopping us for being stable is our impurities, our attachments, our lower attachments. And we need to get to this stage of Nishta. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains very nicely that Nishta is actually not that all the anarthas are gone. He says like 75% of anarthas are gone, and the other anarthas, this means we still have impurities. We have some crazy ideas, but they don't get in the way of our service. You can control them somehow. Oh, I still need, like, just to give a crazy, simple example, I don't know if it's accurate. Like you still want to swim in when you go to the sea, but before Harinam you'll go 10 minutes, you'll take a bath, you'll dry, and then you'll go for Harinam. You know, like something that doesn't impede with the service itself. So yeah, that's the idea. So it's very simple. We should understand that we are spirit soul, and that has some consequences. That we will never find happiness in the material world. And the other part is that we should understand that we're eternal servant of Krishna, and we should we should strive to get to this level of nishta, where we're stable, where we're constantly engaged in Krishna service. We don't take vacation from Krishna. Okay. Yeah, I'll stop here. If there are some comments, concerns, questions. Yeah, it is. It's not only about. So first, there is some happiness in the material world. Otherwise, nobody will stay here. But it's drops, you know, like Maharaj usually says, it's like a drop of water in the desert. Because this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. So there is some drops. It's true. I mean, but like this verse from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Adyanta Vanta Adi Anta. He says that Buddha is not interested in any happiness that has beginning and end. He's not interested, in this some temporary happiness. And of course, when someone comes to bhakti-yoga, there is 259. The problem is that they don't have the experience, and you have to. And the secret in bhakti-yoga is not so much knowledge. Knowledge is also important, but it's higher taste. Because you cannot explain to someone that there is a higher taste. I mean, you can explain. But they have to experience that higher taste. Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, knowledge is one part. It is important, but also we have to have this experience, and also sometimes you have the experience that some devotee says something to someone, and like it just passes by. You know, like it doesn't get in, and then you have another devotee who is maybe more strict, more fixed, more, and then he says the same thing, and then this person is like, oh, makes sense, you know. So our preaching depends, purity is the force. Depends so much on our realization, not so much on what we're telling. You don't have to tell complicated philosophy. But if you have some realization, then you're like, I had this experience. I was doing Sankirtan in Budapest. And I was like, oh my God, it was horrible. And then one day they had some harinam or something. And I was stopping people, and I was saying exactly what I was saying before. But there was some impact, you know, that people were stopping. And they were like, oh, really? And I felt completely different, but I said exactly the same thing, you know. So yeah, depends on us. That's why Srila Prabhupada was so powerful. He could look you in the eyes. He will tell you you're a rascal, and you will be so happy with that, because Srila Prabhupada would just go straight to your soul, and if you like. But if you try to do that, what Srila Prabhupada did, they will just kill us, you know, like they will be like, you know, you cannot imitate. So yeah, in strong preaching, you need to also have strong realization and strong sadhana, strong realization. And then you see some devotees, they can do this. They can sometimes. I rarely do this, but sometimes I do it on the street. I meet some people, and I just go like all in, like oh, you have no idea what you're talking about. Sometimes Krishna inspires, not very often, and they stop, and then they understand that, okay, I'm right, and they're like, okay, I accept. Okay, how much you want for the book? But yeah, I mean, very rarely I do this. So yeah, that's the idea. We don't. This is not the first. We don't usually preach. This is for dogs, camel, and asses, you know. And this, we go according to their level and according to our strength. I don't know. try to stop here. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.